Welcome back, listeners. Last time we read Mike's first letter, written after his stay in Ayutthaya, where a cheap guest house came with 3 rules he didn't understand, and a small bunch of bananas he was told to take with him on the road. This is his second letter. By the time he wrote it, Mike had arrived in Chiang Mai. He had planned to stay for a few days, see the temples, meet some other travelers, and get a traditional tattoo. He got one. A few days later, something about it began to change. This is the line that grew. The night bus from Ayutthaya dropped me in Chiang Mai before dawn. In the middle of the night, the bus had pulled into a checkpoint. Soldiers with flashlights walked the aisle and looked at our faces and moved on. Nobody stopped. I did not sleep after that. The old city was still asleep when I got off. The moat flat and black, the gates closed. A man sweeping the pavement with a broom made of sticks. I found a hostel in the old city, checked in, slept until noon. The hostel had a rooftop and a sign that said travel, and I had a list of things I wanted to do in Thailand, things I had been writing down for a year. The first one was the tattoo. Everyone knows about the sakyant by now. You've seen the pictures, the long needles, the monks, the men coming out of the tiger temple with their eyes rolled back. I didn't want any of the wild designs. I wanted the simple 5-line yant, the protection one, on my upper arm, where the sleeve covers it. I had read that you were supposed to treat it with respect, and I was prepared to be respectful. I was prepared for it to be a cultural experience. I was not prepared for the questions. The shop was in a lane off the moat, a converted shop house with framed photographs in the window, arms, backs, chests, all covered in yant. The smell hit me at the door, incense, oil, and something metal, like a knife kept too long in a drawer. Inside, an old woman sat in the corner on a stool, watching, and the Ajarn was at a table with his needles laid out in a row like tools at a dentist's. He was a thin man with glasses, maybe 60. He had me show him my arm, and he asked me, in careful English, which design I wanted. I pointed at the 5-line. He nodded. He took a needle from the row, longer than any needle I'd seen, with a wooden handle, and he dipped it in a small pot of ink. And then he stopped. "Where are you coming from?" he asked. "Ayutthaya," I said. "I came up on the night bus." His face did not change. I remember thinking that was odd, because faces always do something when you answer a question. His did nothing. "What did you bring with you?" he asked. "I don't understand." He looked at me. Then he looked at the bag on the floor beside my chair, a quick look down and back. "It does not matter," he said. "We start." And he began. The needle goes in and out like a sewing needle, faster than you'd think, and the ink goes with it. And it hurts in a way that is not like a machine tattoo. It is sharper, more personal, like being written on. He chanted while he worked, low from the chest, not quite a hum, and the needle kept time with the words in on one syllable, out on the next. Blood came up in small beads and he wiped them away with a cloth and kept going. The old woman on the stool never moved. She watched me the whole time, and I could not tell what she was watching. And I tried not to watch her back. Behind the Ajarn there was a mirror, and I could see my own face in it, and I had the face of a man getting a vaccination and trying not to. It took maybe an hour. When he finished, he handed me the mirror, and I looked at the 5 lines on my upper arm, clean, black, fresh, like they had always been there, and I thought it was the best thing I had ever paid for. 7 days, he said. No alcohol. No one touches it. You do not show it to strangers. "Okay," I said. "If you break the rules, the yant does not hold," he said. "It is a promise. The ink keeps its part. You keep yours." "Okay," I said again. I paid him, and I thanked him. And I walked out into the afternoon sun with my arm burning under my sleeve. And I felt like the main character of my own trip for the first time since I'd landed. The hostel had a rooftop, and the rooftop had people. That is where the trouble starts, and I want to be fair about the order of it. Nobody made me drink. A Swedish guy I'd met that afternoon. His name was Anders. He was doing the same loop as me. Bought a round of Leo and put one in my hand, and I took it. I remembered the rule. I remembered it the way you remember a rule you don't believe in. It sat in my head, a little sign, and I drank anyway. It was 1 beer. I had planned this tattoo for a year. It was 1 beer, and then it was 2. Because the second one was already open, and the night was warm, and the lights of the old city were on, and I was happy. At some point Anders said, "Let's see it." I pulled my sleeve up, and I pulled it back down. "Rules," I said. He laughed. I laughed. And then someone bought another round, and I did not think about rules at all. There were 4 of us on the roof. Me, Anders, an Australian girl who kept asking what the design meant, a German guy who said tattoos were a waste of money and then showed us his arm, which was covered in them. The night went on the way good nights go on. I was the one who had done the thing I came here to do, and everything else was bonus. I walked back to my bunk that night with the tattoo singing under my sleeve, and I lay there in the dark and I was happy. And that is the last time in this story that I can say that. I woke the next morning with a mouth like dust and the tattoo singing under my sleeve. I took my phone into the bathroom, which was the only place with a mirror and a lock, and I looked at it. The second line from the top, it was longer. I stood in the fluorescent light and looked at it, and then I took out the photo I had taken the night before. I had photographed the tattoo in the hostel mirror at midnight, because of course I had. It was new, and I held the phone up against my arm and compared them. The line went further down in the morning photo. Not a lot. A little. But it went further. I told myself it was swelling. Ink spreads when the skin heals. Everyone knows that. I even said it out loud in the bathroom to make it true. Then I stopped because the line was longer and the skin around the ink was warm. Not hot. Warm. The way skin is warm after a sunburn, except it was only warm over the ink, exactly over the lines. And the skin around the tattoo was its normal temperature. I put my thumb on the bare skin next to it. Normal. I put my thumb on the ink. Warm. I stood in the bathroom and moved my thumb back and forth between the two, like someone checking a stove, and I did not know what I was checking for. I went out and walked the old city all day, the great temple with its golden roof, the ruined one where the old chetty leans against the sky, the river, the market stalls by the gate. The warmth stayed. I bought a long-sleeved shirt at the market that afternoon. The reason I gave myself was the sun. The real reason was the tattoo staying covered. Both of those were true. I checked it in 3 bathrooms that day, a cafes, a restaurants, the hostels. Each time the same small ritual. Sleeve up, thumb on bare skin, thumb on ink, sleeve down. And each time the ink was warm and the skin was not. And I ran through the reasons, healing, slow healing. A hand-poked tattoo heals different. I had never had one. Maybe they all did this. None of them quite held. I wanted to show someone. That is the honest part. I had paid for it, and it was new, and I wanted it seen. That evening Anders asked to see it properly, in the light. I said it was healing. He said okay, and I had the second morning's photo in my hand, and I almost held the phone up to him. And I put it away instead. I could not, because of the rule, and I was starting to be glad of the rule, because I did not want anyone to see what I was seeing. That night I did not drink. Anders asked why. I said I was tired. He said, "Suit yourself." I sat on the roof and watched the lights of the old city and did not drink. And the night was as warm as the night before, and I did not look at my arm, and I did not sleep well. The warmth was still there in the dark. I could feel it against the sheet exactly over the lines, like a phone left on under a pillow. The third morning I went into the bathroom again, and this time I did not want to look, and I looked anyway. The way you always look. The line was longer again. I could see it without the photo now, and that was worse, because it meant I hadn't been imagining the first time. And at the bottom of the design, under the 5th line, there was a mark that had not been there before. A small curl like a hook, or the tail of a letter, I couldn't read ink-colored, under the skin. Part of the design now, as if it had been drawn there in the night. I wet the corner of a towel and rubbed at the mark. It did not come off. It was under the skin, like the rest of it. I took another photo. I had 3 now. The night of the needle, the second morning, the third morning. I lined them up on the screen and I looked at them the way you look at a test result, trying to read it before you understand it. And I could feel the warmth under my sleeve. And I thought about the Ajarn's face when he had asked me where I was coming from. And I thought about what he had asked me. And I thought about the fruit. The fruit from the guest house in Ayutthaya was still in my bag, still uneaten. I could have gone to a clinic. I did the math in my head. What a doctor would charge in Chiang Mai. What it would do to my budget for the rest of the month. What I would tell them. I could have had the thing removed. It is a business. People do it. They laser it off and it is gone. And underneath the math sat the real reason I did not go, which was that I did not want a clinic looking at it. I did not want anyone looking at it. The rules said I wasn't supposed to show it to strangers, and I had stopped being able to tell whether I was keeping the rule or hiding behind it. By the second afternoon, I had stopped rolling my sleeve up even to check it in the mirror. I checked it through the fabric, with my hand. That night, I checked it twice more, once in the hostel mirror with the light off, once through the sleeve in the dark. Both times it was warm. I walked to the shop twice that afternoon. The first time I got to the corner of the lane, and I stood there, and I could smell the incense from the door, and I turned around. I walked back to the hostel and sat on the roof and looked at the 3 photos again, and the line was longer in each one, and I went back to the lane. The second time I went in, the Ajarn was alone. The old woman was not there. She had been there the first time, on her stool, and she was not there now, and I have thought about that more than I like. The shop was quiet in a way it had not been quiet the first time. The fan off, the incense out, the framed faces on the wall looking at nothing. He was cleaning a needle with a cloth. He looked up when I came in, and his hand stopped. He looked at my face, and then he looked at my arm, and he did not ask me to show him. He waited, and I pulled my sleeve up, and he looked at the tattoo for a long time without touching it. The way you look at a thing you do not want to pick up. It is losing its hold, he said. What? There is something on you that has been counting, he said. It wants what it is owed. I asked him what that meant. He did not answer. He asked me a question instead. Did you drink? I stood there with my sleeve up and the warmth on my arm and the mark under the 5th line, and I said yes. 2 beers. He nodded. The way you nod when someone tells you the thing you already knew. He did not say anything about the beers. He did not have to. He went to a drawer and took out a spool of white cotton thread. He cut a length of it, and he wound it twice around my wrist, over the pulse, and he tied it, and the knot sat there like a small white bead. I have not taken it off since. Wear this, he said. 9 days. Do not take it off. Do not come back here. I reached for my wallet. He put his hand up, palm out, and shook his head. And I understood he would not take my money, and I understood that was worse than if he had taken it. Go, he said. I picked up my bag at the door. I stopped, because my hand was in the bag, and it had found the empty space where the fruit had been. I turned the whole bag out on the shop floor. The way you turn a bag over when you are looking for something you are certain is in it. The fruit was not there. It had been in the bag that morning. I had packed around it, careful not to crush it, the way you pack around something you cannot throw away. It was not there now. The Ajarn was standing in the doorway of the shop, watching me. He did not look surprised. I keep coming back to that. He did not look surprised at all. I looked at him, and he looked at me, and I did not ask. I picked up my bag and I walked out into the lane, and I did not look back, and I have not been back to that lane since. I'm on the bus now, 3 days later, heading further north. I have not taken the thread off. The Ajarn said 9 days, and this is day 4. I count the days twice, the way I used to count miles on a bus, because I do not trust the number until I have checked it twice. The thread is picked up a little gray at the edges, the way white cotton does. The knot has not moved. I check it the way I used to check the warmth, without meaning to, my thumb finding the pulse side of my wrist, where the thread sits, over and over. It is still there every time. I have started sleeping with my arm outside the blanket, so I can reach it without waking up. The knot is on the outside of my wrist now. I have turned it around without meaning to, so the knot sits where I can see it. On the phone, I keep the 3 photos side by side: the night of the needle, the second morning, the third morning. I have been looking at them for most of an hour. The line is longer in each one. I have measured it, thumb to screen, 3 times over. It is longer. That is the one thing I am certain of. And it is the one thing I can do nothing with, whether the thread is holding it still or just keeping time with me. I have stopped asking what the Ajarn saw when he looked. I have stopped asking where the fruit went. I have stopped asking. And I have stopped asking the bag, because it is not coming back. Some questions you stop asking because the answer would not help. The line is longer in each photo. That is what I know. I have not taken a 4th photo. I am afraid of what it would show. I am on day 4 of 9, and I have not taken the thread off. And I do not think I want to know what happens on day 10.